In MMA, nothing hits harder than a downfall, especially when it feels earned. The hype, the privilege, the arrogance, all of it comes crashing down when the cage door closes. But in this game, every fall from grace can have life-altering consequences.
When I beat Hinnen Brow, I was an 8-1 underdog. Like, there's no way I was supposed to win in the fight, and then I went in there and dominated him for 5 rounds. He never came back.
One of the best.
And 2026 has already had its share of big names going down the drain. Win streaks over, hype trains getting completely derailed. Sometimes, they even had it coming. So let's break down the most satisfying downfalls of 2026, at least so far. Not long ago, Joaquin Buckley was the welterweight division's biggest problem. From the outset, it seemed he had everything needed to become the face of the division.
He would be a problem for Rakhmonov. The Rakhmonov that fought 2 weeks ago, tonight's Buckley would have beat him. Buckley would be a problem for Ian Gary. Buckley would be a match for Belal Muhammad. Does any of that surprise you? Would you like to disagree with any of that?
He went on a 6-fight win streak, including victories over notable names like Colby Covington and Wonderboy. The guy appeared as strong as an ox inside the cage, and he had knockouts to back it up. Fighters who had been staples of top welterweight contention simply couldn't hang in there with him for long. So much so that lots of people thought he'd be the next champion. Even Buckley himself seemed like he was drinking too much of his own Kool-Aid.
And I feel like in my heart, though, I got the best ability to beat somebody like Islam. He couldn't take me down, he wouldn't be able to submit me, and as well, he definitely ain't gonna be able to strike with me.
Knocking people out left and right, saying he beat Islam and delivering one of the cringiest callouts of Conor McGregor, he was acting like he owned the division.
Conor McGregor, I want you. You fighting at 170, but you ain't fighting a lightweight, welterweight. You fighting a lightweight. Don't boo now.
And the thing about playing the overconfident game is that you can seem untouchable while you're winning. But as soon as the losses start to appear, there'll always be people ready to enjoy seeing you eat your words. Buckley found out soon in his fight against Kamaru Usman in 2025. The fight featured a vintage, grappling-heavy performance from Usman, who relied on his wrestling to control the pace of the match. And despite being older now, the former champion was able to control Buckley, who clearly had no answer for his opponent's wrestling.
You talking about every round, he took me down, kept me there. I couldn't get back up to my feet. I'm looking at Mike Beltran like, bro, come on, stand us up at least one time. Let me get back up to my feet. Like, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I feel so embarrassed, man, because of that loss, you know? I feel so humiliated, man, because of that loss.
All the hype around him started to diminish. Usman revealed a hole in his game, and in a division stacked with top-tier wrestlers, that wouldn't be the last time someone exploited it. But that didn't stop Buckley from getting back to his old self. His next opponent was another wrestler, Sean Brady. A tough task for anyone, especially someone who can't stop takedowns. There was a lot on the line, probably the moment to just stay quiet and work on his game. After all, going on a 2-fight skid at 32 years old could spell the end of his title aspirations. Instead, Buckley doubled down.
Damn, I'm just running my mouth too much, but I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I ain't practiced no wrestling, y'all. I ain't done nothing about wrestling. No jiu-jitsu.
Sure, he was most likely just running his mouth, because behind the scenes, he was training with Usman himself, looking to fix the wrestling deficiency. Still, Brady was an excellent MMA grappler. With both fighters coming off losses, a win could keep either of them near the top. Buckley was once again too confident. According to him, anyone who lost this fight should be cut from the UFC.
Anybody that loses this fight getting cut. That's how I look at it. My job is on the line. That's how I see it. That's different. You know what I'm saying?
His opponent, however, was only focused on the fight itself.
What do you make of Buckley saying the loser of this fight's getting cut?
Like I said, I didn't see that, but I'm definitely not getting cut because I'm not going to lose. Simple as that. And whoever loses this fight isn't getting cut. Like, we're in the top 10. We're two of the best fighters in the world. But I ain't worried about it because I ain't losing.
When the fight finally happened, Buckley learned the hard way that the same problem was still there. Brady completely dominated the fight, scored takedowns in all 3 rounds, and smothered Buckley with relentless ground control.
So Sean Brady just beat the brakes off Joaquin Buckley and dominated the fight from start to finish, 30-25 on 2 judges' scorecards, because he almost finished him in every single round. I mean, Joaquin Buckley was doing okay to start the fight, but he was throwing kicks, and when he threw kicks, he got taken down. In round 2, he manages to get back to his feet after being held down, mounted, beaten on, almost Kimura'd. The round ends, get back to his feet, defends a couple of takedowns, throws a knee, gets taken down. This time gets back up, throws a kick, gets taken down again. Almost beaten to a pulp, almost finished again.
In the end, the bout wasn't even competitive. For a guy who called out Islam Makhachev and told anyone who lost to get cut, 3 rounds without an answer was about as public an eating your words moment as the sport gets. He was unstoppable for a time, only for it all to come crashing down when he neared the top. If you want to see more MMA content like this, hit subscribe, and unlike Buckley, you can actually see it before it happens. But this next fighter on our list built his entire career around being a force to be reckoned with, only to lose it all in one night. Khamzat Chimaev may be the one guy who had the most to lose this year. Well, him and the last fighter on this list. He joined the UFC, and right off the bat, people were saying he was going to be a champion. To say he seemed unstoppable would be an understatement. In his first few fights, he came across as a future champion in the making. He absorbed almost 0 damage while setting records for the quickest turnaround and most dominant striking differentials in promotional history.
This guy is one of the most special fighters I've ever seen, if not the most special guy that I've ever come across.
There is a certain status of invincibility that very few fighters have been able to achieve. Think of Anderson Silva in his prime, Conor McGregor at 145, John Jones during his light heavyweight run. Those guys were so commanding that they were able to make even other fighters fear them. Somehow, Khamzat achieved something similar, and it only took him a couple of fights.
When I look at his eyes, he was a little nervous, like in the cage. When I look at him, he don't want to be there. I said that directly.
He was treated as the uncrowned champion before even entering the top 10. But while he was heavily praised early in his career, over time, some fans started turning on him. First, health problems kept him out for extended periods. Then, when he finally returned, weight-cutting issues started to frustrate fans, and that's when he nearly ruined an entire event because of it. Khamzat then got tasked with beating up Nate Diaz, a nice farewell gift from the UFC before Nate became a free agent. From a business standpoint, that's a massive opportunity. A young star smashing a legend on his way out. If all went according to plan, he would run over Diaz, steal some of his star power, while the UFC got to send a star to test free agency after a devastating whooping. But after coming in nearly 8 pounds overweight, the UFC had to reshuffle both the main and co-main events at the last minute. He was supposed to hand Diaz a loss on the way out. Instead, he was the reason why Nate got to leave on a high note, beating an aging Tony Ferguson. Diaz not only walked away with a win, but he left the UFC claiming Khamzat had been afraid of him.
Ass motherfucker was afraid of me yesterday. We punked his ass in the back here, and now he don't know how to make weight, you know what I'm saying? You guys already know what it is. Real G's come from California, America, motherfucker.
It's no wonder the promotion later barred him from competing at 170 pounds again, but the permanent move to middleweight proved to be just as successful. After a close call against Kamaru Usman, he went back to his old self and finished none other than Robert Whittaker in the first round. Up next would finally be the title fight everyone had been talking about for ages. However, what should have been his crowning moment opened even more room for criticism. Chimaev took on Dricus du Plessis for the belt. DDP was a wild, unorthodox champion, always willing to take a chance and never afraid to open himself up. Khamzat took him on and completely dominated from start to finish. Seriously, we can barely call it a fight. There was one big issue. The fight was painfully boring, and his game plan was a big part of that.
If you're going to fight a game plan where you are that aggressively pursuing chest to chest and chest to back connection, you are making a choice to severely limit any kind of meaningful ground and pound, and you are making a choice to severely limit what kinds of submission opportunities are available to you. He waived on a bunch of different things that were very accessible that he could have gone to because he was more prioritizing the pancaking control.
Yeah, you could argue that the most of the blame for the lack of action was DDP's inability to do anything but survive. Khamzat had close to 24 minutes of control, and the only submission attempt came from Dricus. At the end of the day, Khamzat was crowned champion. He was one of the biggest names on the roster and still carried the aura of invincibility around him. Chances were, he was going to stay like that for years. In the public's eyes, he was ready to be the most dominant force in the sport. So much so that he was ready to venture into yet another weight class right after winning the belt. His next move appeared to be a fight against Yuri Prochazka at 205. According to reports, he even started to bulk up for the jump. But after Strickland beat Fluffy Hernandez, suddenly the UFC had a big fight between middleweights. They offered him more money for a title defense, which he accepted, but there was one obvious problem.
I was with Khamzat last week on the Jackson podcast, and Khamzat Chimaev told me that he is 240 pounds. That is gigantic. That is a good weight for a heavyweight, let alone a middleweight that fights at 185 pounds, 84 kilos. That would be a 55-pound weight cut that he has to go through.
Strickland and Khamzat had one of the biggest, nastiest beefs in the sport. The American, never known for biting his tongue, didn't back down from provoking anyone. Strickland took the mental warfare to an intensely personal level during the build-up. In the weeks leading up to the fight, he launched vulgar attacks targeting Chimaev's mother, his religion, and his homeland.
Calling him things like a Chechen whore, a terrorist, and making jokes about his...
I am terrorist for him. I am. I'm gonna take off his head. I'm gonna kill him. Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
The rivalry got so bad that the UFC had to deploy uniformed police officers on the fighters' hotel floors, install metal detectors, and eventually house them in completely separate buildings to prevent a fight before the fight. And the fans loved it. It all felt like a lower-budget sequel to Khabib versus McGregor. At the time, odds makers had you believing Strickland had little to no chance in the fight. Everyone wanted to see it play out, but getting there would be difficult. Chimaev had bulked up to nearly 240 pounds for a potential move to 205, and now he had to cut over 50 pounds in 2 months.
He steps on the scale, and I have never seen a commissioner call it weight so fast and then let the fighter get off the scale. Like, normally you get on, you're stepping there, you're standing, the medical scale is kind of bobbing up and down, it kind of settles, the commissioner stops it, he checks, you're still standing there, it just goes on, and then when they're happy, which is usually like 10-15 seconds, then they'll announce the weight. This commissioner announces 185 within 2 or 3 seconds, and I swear the thing goes up and down, kind of settles and starts moving up again, and then he gets off. There's no way.
Officially, he did make 185, but the entire thing just fell off. And some people were very irritated about the alleged fix.
This bitch didn't even make weight. You cheating you son of a bitch.
In MMA, nothing will make the fanbase turn on you faster than Dana White's privilege. Being a company man can be good for the career, but the notion of being unfairly favored will flip the crowd on you in a heartbeat. Those who did jump off the Khamzat train that night did it with excellent timing, because on the very next day, everything would change. After the first round, he wasn't the same fighter. As the fight progressed, Strickland started to take over.
He's, in my opinion, is completely dehydrated. Okay, we can't say that that's the limit of Chimaev's gas tank. No, he was compromised. He had to be compromised to go soft that quick. After minute 7, like 7 minutes of fighting, you flopping on your back. Like, I'm a 46-year-old man, I could do better than that. Now, of course, if you dehydrate me to the levels Chimaev had to dehydrate himself, I would do worse than that. Much worse. I probably wouldn't last 2 minutes in there. Okay, what I'm trying to say is it's not a normal dip in energy. It's just not. Trust me, guys, when I tell you, it's not a crazy amount of... It's not a crazy amount to ask for somebody to wrestle hard for 7 minutes. He couldn't do it. He couldn't get past the 7 minutes threshold.
The questionable weight cuts had finally come back to haunt him. Strickland was the one to make him pay, becoming a 2-time middleweight champion in the process. Meanwhile, Khamzat lost everything. His belt, his unbeaten record, and the shot at greatness. And more importantly, after nearly ruining yet another event, chances are his Dana White privilege card just got declined, no matter how much he campaigns for an immediate rematch.
Khamzat Chimaev, obsessed with Sean Strickland rematch. Uh-oh. You guys interested in this?
Not immediate.
But if Khamzat's collapse was dramatic, Belal Muhammad's rise and fall was almost tragic. Belal Muhammad may be the most disrespected champion in UFC history, and the sad thing is, it is hardly his fault.
This question's for Belal. Do you think you could win a street fight by decision?
That's a great question. I'll meet you outside, and then we'll find out.
When you look at his UFC career, it's actually quite impressive. While some fighters may enjoy that sweet, aforementioned Dana White privilege, getting a fast-track to belts and money fights, Belal had to put in the work to make it to the top. He had to put together an 11-fight undefeated streak to get the belt. From 2017 to 2024, he only lost one fight. Sadly for him, there aren't many other impressive things about him. Imagine going on this crazy run, only to remain completely unnoticed for almost a decade. Ironic, especially when your nickname is Remember the Name.
Hello. So, I got a question for, oh, I forgot the name.
Well played, well played.
The numbers are kind of nuts. He has 22 fights in the UFC and has only finished an opponent 3 times. Since 2020, he has only had 1. For some reason, he got up one day and decided Sean Brady was going to eat it. But excluding that time, every single time he got his hand raised since then came by decision. It's no wonder the promotion wanted nothing to do with him as a champion.
And that's what I get, right? Like, I said I was going to go in there and dominate him. I dominated him. And then you have like Dana White, well, it wasn't a barn burner. And I was like,
that was by no fault of your own, by the way, and I disagreed with that quote. Because I saw that quote. That was by no fault of your own. You were the aggressor that whole fight.
Yeah, and I walked through him. And then you'll see Strickland this weekend not do anything. And Dana White be like, man, he's so touched, so professional being in the cage, right? It's way different. And, you know, even when he broke his nose, he manned up. And I was like, bro, that was the worst title fight I've ever seen in my life.
Belal is not a striker and he doesn't have much power in his hands. He excelled at being a pressure fighter, a wrestler with good cardio, ready to make anyone fight at his pace. He had to make it work with the tools he had, and he did just that. But even as a champ, he never got the respect he deserved.
Security doesn't know he's the champ.
There were quite a few fans who wanted nothing to do with the guy. It's hard to blame them though. Most people pay to see action, which is not really his strong suit. But after winning the belt, pressure may have gotten to him, because when he was about to face a young, talented striker, he decided to change his entire fighting style altogether.
You could beat Jack in a lot of different ways, but would it mean the most to actually beat him standing just because that's what he's so well known for?
100%. And then for me, I could just change my name to Canelo Boxing, Canelo Hands, after I finish by knockout.
Obviously, this wasn't the best strategy.
I was like, bro, I can strike with this guy. Like, people are coming at me telling me I can't strike with him. And obviously, we lost the fight, but bro, we stood toe-to-toe with him. I went against the game plan. I went on my own. And at the end of the day, I'm going to live with that.
Since then, it's been downhill for him. He lost the belt and hasn't stopped losing since. Another loss to Ian Gary shortly after. And in 2026, he lost again. This time to an up-and-coming prospect in Gabriel Bonfim. At 38 years old, safe to say his haters got a pretty satisfying end to his career. He was disliked because of his dull fighting style. But what if I told you that when it comes to boring fights, Belal has nothing on the next fighter on this list? Everyone knows that heavyweight is starving for talent, and it has been for a while. So when a fast and athletic Brazilian burst onto the scene, the division finally had something to get excited about. At the start of his UFC career, Jailton Almeida was a finishing machine. Using his high-level grappling, he finished all of his first 6 fights in the promotion.
What are your thoughts on the budding heavyweight contender, 31 years of age, from Salvador, Bahia, Brazil, Jailton Almeida?
He's a savage, man. I think he's a beast with a tremendous amount of potential. Physically, obviously, very, very gifted. The dude's muscles have muscles.
At one point, everything was going great for him. His first main event ended in a quick finish off Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Hard to ask for more. He was finally ready to face the top of the division, and that's when the problems started to show up. His next fight was against Derek Lewis in Brazil. Lewis is one of the greatest KO artists in history. More than just that, he is also huge, even for heavyweights. Meanwhile, Almeida always felt like a 205er up a weight class. So, by all accounts, a smart game plan was warranted. But even smart strategies should involve, fighting.
You got given Derek Lewis on short notice in Brazil, in front of your home people, 5-rounder, main event, card built around you, and you lay on top of him and do nothing.
Lewis's grappling isn't the best. In fact, some may say it's rather lacking. When Almeida had him on the bottom for the majority of the fight and did absolutely nothing with it, it was honestly a sign that maybe there's something wrong with the guy. In his very next fight, he got knocked out while fishing for a takedown against Curtis Blades. Once he returned to lower tier competition, he scored 2 more wins in the first round. But as soon as the opponents got tougher, the issue returned. Almeida managed to lose his fight against Volkov, despite spending the majority of the bout in top control. Turns out he was so unwilling to do anything that the judges gave it to the other guy by default.
Ben Askren was like, "What is Jailton allergic to throwing punches in there?" Was his exact phrase.
You can't win a fight by just laying on top of somebody. That's not how it works. So I was actually very happy with the way the judges scored that fight.
Almeida's lack of action was honestly fascinating. His fights were so unexciting that if Jake Shields and John Fitch were at a watch party together, both of them would get mad about his unwillingness to do anything. So in 2026, the UFC finally had enough. After yet another lackluster performance against Rizvan Kunyev, the promotion decided to part ways with him. Even though he was 8-3, enough was enough. His departure not only saves everyone from having to watch another one of his fights, but also perfectly symbolizes how the UFC, under the new Paramount deal, will prioritize fun and excitement over results alone.
He was cut. He was released from the organization. Almeida, as I mentioned, recently lost to Kunyev, which I think had to have played a role in his dismissal, Oscar, given how boring the fight was sort of universally received as.
That downfall was about the most boring fighter in the sport. The next one, however, is about the most exciting. You're probably thinking, it's hard to say Alex Pereira had a downfall when he successfully speed-ran MMA in the last couple of years. And that much is true. Poaton's career has been a sight to behold. From just another kickboxer giving the sport a try to becoming a 2-division champion, what he managed to achieve in such little time simply doesn't make sense.
You're talking about one of the most unusual championship fighters in the history of this sport. Certainly one of the best light heavyweight campaigns. I mean, yeah, obviously, John Jones has got the best light heavyweight campaign by a gazillion miles. Cormier's is up there too, and I would probably put Cormier's ahead of his. But just with the compactness and how much he fills it with unusual levels of greatness, he is so special and so rare.
Pereira managed to be a part of some of the most iconic moments of the decade. His 2 fights against Ankalaev lit a new fire in the light heavyweight division. And of course, his moments with Adesanya will go down as one of the greatest rivalries in combat sports history. After reclaiming the belt last year, it felt like there was no limit to what the man could do. So his next move was to try to do something impossible.
There's a lot of chatter about it. There's a lot of chatter about him perhaps even fighting Cyril Gane. I don't know how much of this is true. I haven't talked to Dana about it, but it's not an illogical move. He's 240 pounds right now, 240 plus.
Being a 2-division champion is already tough enough. That honor is only for a select few. Adding yet another belt into the mix, no one has ever done it in MMA.
I also think that perhaps the biggest storyline in MMA would be a guy pursuing a 3rd championship.
The plan was moving ahead at full throttle. With Aspinall out of competition, the UFC set up a new interim belt. His opponent was Cyril Gane, a tough task for anyone, let alone someone who had never competed in the division. And despite the Frenchman being one of the 2 best heavyweights on the roster today, most people and the media were totally looking past him. Some were even speculating about how the unification fight between Aspinall and Pereira would play out, as if beating Gane was merely a formality.
Pereira will beat Gane, I reckon, by TKO. He'll chew up his leg on the front foot. Close fight, though.
They set up the biggest possible stage for a fight that could go down in history as the one to award the first triple champion of the sport. The two of them would be the co-main of the White House card, easily the most anticipated event of the last few years. But when the fight happened, Pereira wasn't as scary as he was in lower weight classes. Speed wasn't as much of a factor as we thought. In fact, he moved noticeably slower than usual. The most notable difference was that his body looked bigger in all the wrong, or right, places.
When we were doing the pictures and shit with the videos and we were wearing our trunks and shit, I've never seen a guy that looked like he got a BBL. Alex Pereira's ass is bigger than a Miami bitch's BBL. I was in shock. Wait till you guys see it. No Diddy, wait till you see that wagon.
Gane, who's not even known for fast finishes in the UFC, got him out of there inside 2 rounds, and that's when the crash out really began. After dazing him on the feet, Gane landed several elbows on the ground, and many of them were totally illegal, back-of-the-head shots. The whole thing stirred up a storm of controversy, mostly directed at the referee, Herb Dean. Herb, as per usual, didn't call the fouls.
Vou mostrar pra vocês, vocês vão ver, pô, as marcas, os inchaços, entendeu? Na nuca, entendeu? Isso aí não pode acontecer, velho. E esse árbitro aí, porra, pra mim não tem moral nenhuma.
To Poaton's credit, he had a legit claim. We've seen him coming back from adversity in many of his fights. The first encounter with Adesanya, the Roundtree bout. If the ref stopped the fight after those fouls and gave him time to recover, there was a small chance he could get back into the fight. However, it still doesn't change the fact that Gane was simply the better fighter that night, with or without illegal shots. Pereira is still on his campaign against Herb Dean, with no indication that he'll be letting it go.
All that I want is a rematch, to be able to fight fair, to fight square, to fight clean, to go over there and show people. That's what people want to see. People don't want to see cheating.
At the end of the day, Alex gave it his best shot at something that had never been done. And while he's still not taking the loss all too well, there is still a window of opportunity at heavyweight if he plays his cards right. The final fighter on this list, however, suffered a downfall so severe that his entire career may be on borrowed time. Ilia Topuria may be the most confident or cocky fighter, depending on how you look at it, to ever grace the sport, perhaps to his own detriment. But truth be told, he has good reason for being this sure of himself. In any conversation about the most talented fighters of the past decade, Topuria's name is guaranteed to be on the list.
I mean, Topuria is the best fighter on the planet right now. No one can, I think, dispute that. I mean, he's knocking,
good. He's very
the way
good.
He's just finishing these guys, Holloway, Volkanovski, and Oliveira. He's just on another level right now. He's in his prime.
By many accounts, the perfect fighter. Durable chin, cardio, crisp boxing, excellent wrestling, and good submissions. He has it all. And he knows it, because another staple of his MMA persona was just how confident and borderline disrespectful he was. Topuria made it a thing to predict the outcome of his fights early, sort of like a discount version of Mystic Mac. Another thing, and this is the big one, he likes to celebrate his victories with his friends on the night before the fight. The commitment to the arrogant prick shtick is almost commendable. Pulling that off against guys like Volkanovski, Holloway, and Oliveira is bold, to say the least. One wrong move and the entire internet would make him a laughingstock. And for his next opponent in the main event of the White House card, Justin Gaethje, he planned to do the same.
Topuria plans to celebrate before the Gaethje clash at the White House. Of course he's going to celebrate.
Whatever he's doing.
That's his move, whatever he does.
He's doing it again.
Massive celebration dinner the night before his lightweight bout. We're going to celebrate before the fight. Actually, we have everything organized. My team has already taken care of that. That's a mind fucking and a half when you're in your hotel room, you know, and you're just fucking scrolling on Instagram thinking about 24 hours from now you're going to be fighting, and you're like, what's this asshole doing?
Bro.
Oh, he's fucking standing on top of a table dancing.
That's how sure he is he's going to beat the fuck out of you.
Coming into the fight, Gaethje was seen as no more than a sacrificial lamb. The American is an older, battle-scarred fighter. What chance would he realistically have against one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world? A pretty good one, actually.
I love you knowing that you're going to knock me out, because when it goes to the second round, it goes to the third round, you're going to be like, oh, I talked all this shit.
Bro, there's never going to be a second or third round. That's not going to happen. You know? That's not going to happen.
Topuria went through with celebrating the win the night before the fight. But when he finally entered the cage, he'd soon learned the early knockout predictions were quickly going out the window. The contest played almost exactly as Gaethje described it in that last clip. Topuria started strong and came close to finishing him in the second round with body shots, but Gaethje was still standing. What happens when the most technical fighter in the world gets dragged into a war with the most violent brawler? Well, Violence has a way of trumping everything.
He wasn't respecting Gaethje. He was just kind of walking into him. I think that he did it. I think he thought there's no way he's going to stand up to my firepower, and that guy does. That guy does, you know. And I think that just a tragic mistake. His whole dude, and honestly, like, this is why the rematch might not happen. Dude, Ilia's face is fucked up. Like, it's gonna be a while before he's good to like train and take punches in sparring. Like, and if he's broken and he has to get surgery, like, would he even be the same after that? Like, that was real dumb to just walk into Justin Gaethje's punches, because now, even if you're fine and you can get back to training, like, it may take a while and you're going to miss a turn, to say nothing of what permanent damage might be there. Dude, Justin Gaethje permanently damaged Tony Ferguson. And I know a guy like Ilia would look at Tony and be like, oh yeah, he's a goofball who like walks into punches. It doesn't matter, dude. The guy was tough, and Gaethje is unforgiving.
The doctor recommended it be stopped after the 3rd round, but the fight continued anyway. After the 4th, though, Topuria's corner finally threw in the towel. By the end of it, his face looked like something out of a horror movie. It was later revealed that he suffered fractures to both eye sockets and a broken nose.
This could be a career-ending fight for Topuria. This could be Topuria's never the same after this fight. I tell you this, it's very probable. Why? He probably has both orbitals broken, a broken nose. Now, the broken nose is not so bad. Now, you don't want a chronic broken nose. That's a really big problem. That could be a problem. But the orbitals are going to be shifting around if he gets punched too early, if he comes back to training too early. These are going to have to be set with like plates, and the plates actually cause discomfort and pain. Will he ever have his face the way it was before? His ability to take a punch like it was before? This is up in the air, guys. This we won't know for a year or two.
In an almost sad, gruesome way, Topuria's downfall is poetic. The arrogant guy who celebrated his wins before they even happened lost everything to one of the biggest underdogs of the year. All credit to Gaethje. His whole career has been a war, and he never backed down from a fight. If you'd like to see more about the man with the most destructive style in MMA, you can check out this video next.